FC. Races Net, first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the net? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brendan. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the pro sign, break, and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL turn of 110.9. Check-in, CO Echo Link are also possible using the W5SC-R station ID or Echo Link node 37247. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links available online. Go to W5FC.org right now for the complete list. Remind to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, space exploration and space history, what's up, Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, and visible satellites over the next couple of days, ending up with astronomical Q&A and 73 round if we have time. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from this evening. Please come now.
Is November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William in Allen. Short time, no traffic.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf, Uniform Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas, low power.
Okay, very good. We have N5WOI, William, and W5GUS, Gus. Let's proceed with general check-ins. Please come now.
Go, Niner, Victor, Michael, in outer space.
KG5P, Kilo Golf 5, Papa, Mike, and Richardson.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. Tom, I'm also in outer space, but I'm in Louisville, too.
Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Palmer's Branch. Number 5, Bravo Bravo, Bill in Irving.
Okay, we have WT9B Michael, KG5P Mike, KE5ICX Tom, KF5ZBL Bill, and N5BB Bill. Do we have anyone from Echo Link wanting to check in? Please come now. Okay, any other check-ins from any mode? Please come now.
Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Hotel, Melissa and Dallas.
Okay, we have Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Hotel, Melissa. Welcome to the net, everybody. It's a short group, small group, but maybe we'll get some more coming in. Maybe, I don't know where everybody is. Maybe they're out Christmas shopping. All right, let's get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? This could be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come down. All right, the AMSAT, Radio Amateur Satellite Group, has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSAT Net, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz PL, 110.9 positive offset. All right, after this net, we have another one where we collectively, individually watch a movie. And then on Saturday night, we discuss it. And this week, Tom has outdone himself. I don't know how much worse it can be, but this is probably the worst one we've ever had. So I'm going to call on KE5ICX now to give us a synopsis of this fine film. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX. Everybody listen up. This is really important. For tonight's Afterglow info, listen carefully. Come and ride a little train that is going down the tracks with dysfunction. Forget about who cares. It's time for attacks with dysfunction. Lots of jerks, you bet. Even more when you get from dysfunction. You do the alien dysfunction. There's a little spacecraft called the UFO, dumb dysfunction, alien dysfunction. It was crashed by fate and becomes Earther bait, dumb dysfunction, alien dysfunction. And that's Uncle Hank, his probed body behind the bank, from dysfunction, alien dysfunction. So join us for the next Afterglow movie, the Alpha Incident from 1979, actually 1978, now with 30% more trains, tonight at 10:30 p.m. KE5ICX.
Would it be horrible for me to say that you are off the rails? Thank you, Tom. I am looking forward to this discussion. I have a lot to say. None of it's good. Okay, you can keep up with all DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. If we have any additional check-ins.
Kilo 5, Alpha, November, Papa, Allen in Dallas.
Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Okay, we have K5ANP Allen, and then K5 something from Randy. I missed last of your call.
5 Golf Lima Delta, K5GLD.
All right, K5GLD and W5GUS. You said something, but I couldn't make it out. Would you please try and repeat it?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a news item, W5GUS, when you get a chance. W5GUS.
All right, now's a good time. Go ahead, W5GUS.
All right, thank you, Brenda. This was in last Wednesday, December 4th, newspaper from India. Headline was Self-Described Nerd Finds Lost Moon Lander. And it was from New Delhi, a software engineer who pored over satellite images in his spare time, helped NASA locate the debris of India's ill-fated mission to the moon. Shanamigan Subramanian of the South India city of Chennai looked at images of the moon surface on 2 laptops for 6 to 7 hours a day until he found what he thought might be the debris of the moon lander, he told Indian television Tuesday. He sent NASA an email in October with his findings, and on Monday, which 2 weeks ago about, NASA confirmed the discovery, saying Subramanian provided a positive identification of the debris. Reset. On his blog, Subramanian describes himself as a coder, a photographer, and a nerd. I feel a lot of happiness that I was able to find it, he told NDTV of his discovery. India's Chandrayaan-2 mission launched in July. It was supposed to land near the south pole of the moon on September 7th. The voyage of Chandrayaan of the instrument transfixed India and put it on the brink of becoming only the fourth country in the world to land a rover on the moon. But the effort ended in heartbreak when Indian space engineers lost contact with the spacecraft, during the final minutes of the descent to the surface. The government later said the craft had hard landed on the moon, and that's the end of the article. Kind of interesting, a nerd discovering the location. Back to net, W5GUS.
Thank you, guys. That's very interesting. All right, next. Do we have any frequency who would like to talk about the TAS of Dallas? All right. The Texas Astronomical Society also hosts observing parties every Saturday night beginning at sunset and concluding around 10 p.m. Each week is a different location for observing. Make sure you get complete details for the Saturday night you wish to attend. Go to texasastro.org and select calendar in the pull-down for complete details. And I skipped something about their monthly meetings. They're held on the fourth Friday of every month at the University of Texas at Dallas campus in Richardson. The meeting begins at 7:30 p.m. in the Science Learning Center building, SLC on the campus map. Only park in lots H, I, or J. Parking elsewhere on campus could result in a ticket. And you can go on the website and get a campus map. The meetings include programs presented by meeting members or guest speakers, a slideshow of the current constellation of the month, and items for sale, such as t-shirts, books, and observing aids. And I don't know if there's a star party tonight. I understand they're having their banquet, so I couldn't tell you if there is one. Anybody have information on a star party? All right, then, let's move on to National Space Society events and activities. N5BB. Do you have information on that?
Yes, Brenda, this is N5BB. The National Space Society of North Texas has a very active chapter, actually probably the most active one in the world right now. And as far as outreach to the community, we meet on the second Sunday of every month. So the January meeting is going to be on Sunday, January the 12th at 3:30 p.m. Sunday afternoon, January the 12th at the Spring Creek Barbecue, the southwest corner of 183 and Beltline in Irving. I do not have the meeting topic yet. I don't believe it's been published. There are some upcoming activities that the group is doing, but rather than talking about those, let's talk about what's been going on with space launches. There's a lot of space launches this month, a lot. And I don't have time to go through all of them, but some of the big things that's happening, Rocket Labs, are things that are announced recently also. Rocket Lab, which is a company from Southern California that has been launching rockets from near New Zealand. They're planning on opening up a launch pad of Wallops Island in Virginia with a U.S. Air Force mission in 2020. So this is another player now in launching large rockets, is Rocket Labs. So there's a lot of players in play. The commercial space flight market has really opened up in the last couple of years. SpaceX yesterday performed a hold-down firing for a heavyweight satellite launch on Monday. So this is one of their Falcon 9 boosters. This booster has already been flown twice in the past. Let me repeat that because it's so unusual compared to what space flight was like a few years ago. The mission, the rocket that they're planning on launching on Monday has already flown twice, and they've recovered it both times with their soft landings. So it's now going to be launched a third time. And yesterday it had a hold-down test, so they were sure everything was working there at the Cape. NASA has just given, 2 days ago, they gave the go-ahead for Starliner to do an unmanned space flight, a test flight, to the International Space Station in 2020. So Starliner is Boeing's craft, and it's being it's on top of a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, and it's planned to take off sometime in let's see. Excuse me. December the 20th is the date. It's not next year, it's December the 20th. So coming up in 6 days. So they're going to send up their Starliner capsule, which is designed to carry humans, but it'll be unmanned going to the International Space Station. They'll be checking if it can go up there and dock. So this is another really big test. So there's a lot of things going on in international space, in space flight right now. And these are just the companies based in the U.S. There's also a lot of things going on with Chinese and other countries. That's all I got for now. But 2020 is going to be a very active... Oh, I got one more item. The International Space Development Conference, the 2021, is going to be held in Frisco, Texas, north of Dallas, on May the 27th to May the 31st. You can sign up for it in advance. The tickets will cost more if you wait. So if you want to go to that conference, it's suggested that you sign up soon so you get a better rate. That is all I have now. This is Inside BB. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have any additional check-ins? All right, let's move on to our feature. It's entitled The Real Story of Apollo 17 and Why We Never Went Back to the Moon. This article is several years old, but, you know, that was a long time ago. On December 11th, 1972, Apollo 17 touched down on the moon. This was not only our final moon landing, but the last time we left low Earth orbit. With a successful launch of the Orion capsule, NASA is finally poised to go further again. So it's important to remember how we got to the moon and why we stopped going. Crewed by Commander Eugene A. Cernan, Command Module Pilot Ronald E. Evans, and Lunar Module Pilot Harrison P. Schmidt, The Apollo 7 mission was the first to include a scientist. Primary scientific objectives included geological surveying and sampling of materials and surface features in a pre-selected area of the Taurus-Littrow region, deploying and activating surface experiments, and conducting in-flight experiments and photographic tasks during lunar orbit and trans-Earth coast. Harrison Jack Schmitt had earned his Ph.D. in geology from Harvard University in 1964, had worked for the United States Geological Survey and at Harvard before going through astronaut training in 1965. Apollo 17 was his first mission into space and would be the first astronaut scientist to step on the surface of the moon. Accompanying him was Eugene Gene Cernan, a veteran astronaut who had first flown into space with the Gemini 9A mission in 1966, and later served as a lunar module pilot for the Apollo 10 mission in May of 1969, where he came within 90 miles of the lunar surface. Cernan landed the Challenger lunar module in the Taurus-Littrow lunar valley just to the southeast of Mare Serenitatis, a region of geological significance on the moon. The mission's planners hoped that the region would provide a wealth of information about the history of the moon's surface. Upon landing, the pair began their own observations of the lunar surface. After several hours of preparation, Cernan stepped onto the lunar surface. Two astronauts unloaded a lunar rover and began to deploy scientific instruments around their landing site, an experiments package and explosives to complete seismic experiments begun with other Apollo missions in other locations on the moon. Their first exclusion, probably doesn't say exclusion, it's probably expedition, in the rover yielded numerous samples of lunar rock. Over the next couple of days, the astronauts completed 2 additional moonwalks where they continued to drive across the lunar surface and collect samples. Schmitt later described the landing site to NASA oral historian Carol Butler. It was the most highly varied site of any of the Apollo sites. It was specifically picked to be that. We had 3 dimensions to look at with the mountains to sample. You had the bare basalts in the floor and the highlands in the mountain walls. We also had this apparent young volcanic material that had been seen on photographs, and it wasn't immediately obvious, but ultimately we found in the form of the orange soil at Shorty Crater. The scientific endeavors of Apollo 17 were the culmination of a massive program that had begun in 1963 following the successes of the Mercury program. In the aftermath of the Second World War, the United States and the Soviet Union became embroiled in a competitive arms race that saw significant military gains on both sides, eventually culminating in the development of rockets capable of striking enemy territory across the world. The next step for arms superiority jumped from the atmosphere to low Earth orbit to the moon, the ultimate high ground. As this happened, each country capitalized on the advances in rocket technology to experiment with human spaceflight missions. The Soviet Union succeeded in putting Yuri Gagarin into space in 1961, just a couple of years after launching the first satellite into orbit. Closely followed by the United States, space became an incredibly public demonstration of military and technological might. The development of space travel didn't occur in a political vacuum. The drive for the United States to develop rockets and vehicles which could travel higher and faster than their Soviet counterparts happened alongside increasing U.S.-USSR tensions, especially as geopolitical crises such as the Cuban Missile Crisis and the U.S. deployment of missiles to Turkey demonstrated how ready each country was to annihilating the other. As the space program took off, it was supported by other research and scientific efforts from the broader military-industrial complex, which President Dwight Eisenhower had worried about just a handful of years earlier. Eisenhower had not been a major supporter of the development of space travel, which began under his watch, and had attempted to downplay the significance of Sputnik. The red-hot environment of the Cold War allowed for significant political capital and governmental spending, which supported a first strike infrastructure, and in part trickled over to the scientific and aeronautical fields, which maintained a peaceful and optimistic message. By 1966, the space race peaked. NASA received its highest budget ever at $5.933 billion. The U.S. had made clear gains in space by this point. Project Gemini had completed its final mission, and with efforts towards the next phase under Apollo were well underway. By this point, the social and political infrastructure and support for space had begun to wane, which would ultimately fall away after Apollo 11 successfully landed on the moon's surface in July of 1969. After this point, NASA continued with planned missions and eventually landed 5 additional Apollo missions on the moon. And of course, Apollo 13 was unable to land. Just a year after Apollo 11 landed, NASA began to reprioritize. Plans for a space station were revived, and in 1970 they announced that Apollo 20 would be canceled in favor of the creation of a new venture, Skylab. On September 2nd, 1970, the agency announced that the final 3 Apollo missions, Apollo 15, 16, and 17. The agency was forced to contend with political pressure as well. In 1971, the White House intended to completely cancel the Apollo program after 15, but ultimately the 2 remaining Apollo missions were kept in place. Harrison Schmitt, who had been training for Apollo 18, was bumped up to Apollo 17 after NASA faced pressure from scientists to send one of their own to the moon. 42 years later, no one has stepped on the moon. The levels of federal spending which NASA had received before 1966 had become untenable to a public which had become financially wary, particularly as they experienced a major oil crisis in 1973, which shifted the nation's priorities. Spending in space was something that could be done, but with far more fiscal constraints than ever before, limiting NASA to research and scientific missions in the coming years. Such programs included the development of the Skylab program in 73 and the Space Shuttle program, as well as a number of robotic probes and satellites. Implement new exploratory missions to the moon and beyond. Optimistic dreams of reaching Mars have long since perished, and as NASA focused on the Space Shuttle, the physical infrastructure which supported lunar missions vanished. No longer were Saturn V rockets manufactured, and unused rockets were turned into museum displays. The entire technical and manufacturing apparatus, which was supported by both military and civilian operations, had likewise begun to wind down. The strategic arms limitation talks and its successors began to freeze the numbers of missiles which could be deployed by both the United States and the Soviet Union in 1972. And each country largely began to step down their operations. The urgency which fueled the Cold War arms race had begun to cool, and along with it, the support for much of the efforts required to bring people into space and to the moon. Since that time, U.S. presidents have spoken of their desire to return to the moon, but often in terms of decades rather than in single digits. It's easy to see why. Up until recently, U.S. spaceflight operations were focused entirely on low Earth orbit activities, as well as admirable cooperative international programs such as the International Space Station and major scientific instruments such as Mars Pathfinder, Opportunity, Spirit, and Curiosity. Other major concerns have redirected U.S. attentions from spaceflight, the United States War on Terror, which is expected to cost U.S. taxpayers over $5 trillion in the long run, The launch of Orion atop a Delta IV Heavy rocket was exciting to watch, as well as newer players in the space launch field, SpaceX and Orbital Sciences Corporation, which suggesting that a new generation of infrastructure is being constructed. The reasons for visiting the moon and potentially other planets and bodies in our solar system are numerous. They could be the greatest scientific endeavors of our existence, allowing us to further understand the creation of our planet, solar system, and the greater world around us. More importantly, though, such missions contribute to the character of the nation, demonstrating the importance of science and technology to our civilization, which will ultimately help us process and address the issues of greatest concern, the health of our planet. Hopefully, CERN's words and hope that our absence from the moon will be short-lived and that we will once again explore new worlds in our lifetimes. All right. Do we have any more check-ins?
Whiskey 5 Echo Bravo Bravo on Echo Link.
Delta 5 India Zulu Foxtrot.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey on Echo 8.
All right, we have W5EBB, and I know your name is David. KD5IZF, I think your name is Dave, but I'm not sure. And KG5BZWJ. Do we have any more Echolink check-ins? We'll give you a few extra seconds. All right, let's move on to space exploration and space history. I understand K5KTX is supposed to present that, but she hasn't checked in. Are you out there, Kelly? All right, KE5ICX, would you like to read this?
Yes, indeed, and I'll be happy to do it. Miss Kelly, K5KTX, sent this in. She put it together, and she's on the road. The last time I saw her, she was in Missouri several hours ago, and she was checking in. Bringing back her travel trailer, I think probably for events at night, dark sites and all of that. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Hang on just a second. All right, here we go. This is from her report from December 14th, 2019. After a year scoping out the asteroid Venus boulders scattered to the surface, the team leading NASA's first asteroid sample return mission has officially selected a sample collection site. The origin, spectral interpretation, resource identification, security, regolith explorer, that's a lot to say, OSIRIS-REx mission team has concluded the site designated Nightingale, that's easier to say, located in a crater high in Bennu's northern atmosphere, is the best spot for the spacecraft to snag a sample. The OSIRIS-REx team spent the past several months evaluating close-range data from 4 candidate sites in order to identify the best option for this sample collection. The candidate sites, dubbed Sandpiper, Osprey, Kingfisher, and Nightingale, were chosen for investigation because of all the potential sampling regions on Bennu. These areas pose the fewest hazards to the spacecraft's safety while still providing the opportunity for great samples to be gathered. Site Nightingale is located in the northern crater, 460 feet wide. Nightingale's regolith, or rocky surface material, is dark, and images show that the crater is relatively smooth. Because it is located so far north, temperatures in the region are lower than elsewhere on the asteroid, and the surface material is well preserved. The crater also is thought to be relatively young, and the regolith is freshly exposed. This means the site will likely allow for a pristine sample of the asteroid, giving the team insight to Bennu's history. This mission also selected site Osprey as a backup sample collection site. The spacecraft has the capability to perform multiple sampling attempts. The spacecraft is designed to autonomously wave off from the site if its predicted position is too close to the hazardous area. In any situation where a follow-on attempt at Nightingale is not possible, the team will try to collect a sample from the site Osprey instead. With the selection of the final primary and backup sites, the mission team will undertake further reconnaissance flights over Nightingale and Osprey, beginning in January and continuing through the spring. Once these flyovers are complete, the spacecraft will begin rehearsals for its first touch-and-go sample collection attempt, which is attempted for August. The spacecraft will depart Bennu in 2021 and is selected to return to Earth in September of 2023. NASA and Boeing are proceeding with plans for Boeing's orbital flight tests following a full day of briefings and discussion called a Flight Readiness Review that took place in the agency's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Those words all go together. Launch of the CST-100 Starliner spacecraft atop the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, which is scheduled for 5:36 a.m. Central Standard Time, Friday, December 20th, from Space Launch Complex 41 on Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. That's right across from Cape Kennedy, by the way. Uncrewed flight test will be Starliner's maiden. Starliner's maiden mission to the International Space Station for NASA's Commercial Crew Program. NASA is working with its commercial partners to launch astronauts on American rockets and spacecraft from American soil for the first time since 2011. Safe, reliable, and cost-effective human transportation to and from the space station will allow for additional research and time and increase the opportunity for discovery aboard humanity's testbed for exploration. Now into space and NASA history, December 9th, 1978, the Pioneer Venus 2 test probes entered the atmosphere of Venus. There were a total of 4 probes designed to collect data on the atmosphere. Each probe was shaped like a cone, and they were not designed to survive surface impact. The probes found that between 10 and 15 kilometer altitude above the surface, there is almost no convection in Venus's atmosphere. Below the haze layer at 30 kilometers, the atmosphere appears to be relatively clear. Although expected to be destroyed on impact, one of the probes actually transmitted data from the surface for 67 and a half minutes, despite the extreme temperatures and pressure conditions. On December 10, 1962, NASA Administrator James E. Webb, to a letter to the President, explained the rationale behind the agency's selection of lunar orbit rendezvous rather than direct ascent or Earth orbit rendezvous as a mode for landing Apollo astronauts on the moon. Arguments for and against any of the three modes could have been indeterminable. Quote, "We are dealing with a matter that cannot be conclusively proved before the fact," Webb said. "The decision on the mode has to be made at this time in order to maintain our schedules, which aim at a landing attempt in late 1967. And in 1993, the Hubble Space Telescope was redeployed after 5 back-to-back spacewalks totaling 35 hours and 28 minutes by the crew of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, STS-61, for the first servicing mission of the Space Telescope. The mission restored the spaceborne observatory's vision, marred by spherical aberration, with the installation of a new main camera and corrective optics package. This correction occurred more than 3.5 years after the Hubble was launched aboard STS-31 in April of 1990. The flight also brought instrument upgrades and new solar arrays to the telescope. Then, as was discussed earlier by Ms. Brenda, Apollo 17. In 1972, Apollo 17, the lunar module Challenger, touched down on the lunar surface, making the last human moon landing to date. Astronauts Gene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt would perform 3 moonwalks, I'll get that right, over the course of their 75-hour stay on the surface. Thanks to the electric-powered Lunar Roving Vehicle, or LRV, they also traveled 22 miles. I didn't know that, 22 miles, venturing as far as 4.6 miles from the lunar module. On December 12th, and I'm looking for the date, 1969, I think, the first Oscar Phase 1 amateur satellite was launched to piggyback with the Discovery 36. A group of enthusiasts in California formed the Project Oscar and persuaded the United States Air Force to replace ballast on an Agena upper stage with a 4.5-kilogram Oscar-1 package. The satellite was box-shaped with a single monopole antenna and battery-powered. The 140-milliwatt transmitter onboard discharged its batteries after 3 weeks. 570 amateurs in 28 countries reported receiving its simple hi-hi Morse code. You know that. Did it. Morse code signals on the VHF 2-meter band, 144.983 megahertz until July 1st, 1962. Oscar 1 re-entered the atmosphere on July 31st, 1962, after 312 revolutions. The observations provided important information on radio propagation through the ionosphere, the spacecraft's orbit, and thermal satellite design. Oscar 1 led to the creation of the Amateur Satellite Corporation, AMSAT, in 1969. On December 14th, 18th, I didn't write down the date. Let me see here. 2009, I believe, the Wide Field Infrared Explorer, or WISE, astronomy satellite launched. It was designed to conduct an all-sky survey at infrared frequencies of 3.4, 4.6, 12, and 22 microns, detecting objects 100 times fainter than previous satellites. The primary instrument is a 40-centimeter telescope cooled by 12K or by a cryosat filled with solid hydrogen. WISE discovered thousands of minor planets and numerous star clusters. After its hydrogen coolant depleted, a mission extension called NEO-WISE was conducted to search for near-Earth objects such as comets and asteroids using its remaining capability. In August of 2013, NASA announced it would reactivate the WISE telescope for a new mission to search for asteroids that could collide with Earth. As of November 2019, NEO-WISE is 95% of the way through its 12th coverage of the sky since the start of the reactivation mission. Over 900,000 infrared measurements have been made of 35,667 different solar system objects, including 1,063 NEOs, near-Earth objects, and 183 comets. Wow, I read that for the first time. That's pretty impressive. Miss Brenda, do you want me to go ahead and do What's Up? Apparently I did this back-to-back this evening, KE5ICX.
KE5ICX, if you want to, I will step in if you feel like resting your voice, but it's totally up to you. This is WB50ZL.
Okay, well, if you want to take check-ins, that will rest my voice, and probably for a good thing for everybody. And I'll come back with What's Up, KE5I6.
I'm sorry, What's Up is what's next. Were you going to do that or something else later?
Okay, I'll just do What's Up. This is KE5ICX, and what I'm doing tonight is What's Up. Chaz, who normally does this, KF5JHA, he's off somewhere. He's doing an event this evening, I think. Probably looking at the sky. That's him. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling from earthsky.org. Wait a minute, what is it? Anyway, I'll tell you anyway because I can't remember the website, but it's a good one. The annual Geminid meteor shower is expected to reach its peak this weekend, though under the glaring light of an almost full waning gibbous moon. The peak morning is likely to be Saturday, December 14th. I think that's now, or possibly Sunday, December 15th. But the morning of December 13th might offer some meteors too. These colorful meteors tend to be bright, so you can see as many as 20 or so Geminids per hour, despite the moonlight. On a dark night, free of moonlight, you can easily spot 50 or more meteors per hour. On an optimum night for the Geminids, it's possible to see 150 meteors per hour, but that won't happen this year under the moonlight. And it is full moon, by the way. If you are watching, you can go to w5fc.org, go down the hot links, and you can see some of the maps and charts and photographs and everything that are there. So if you're looking, you'll find something that says East Mid-Morning, and it shows the constellation Gemini, and you'll see the Geminid radiant, which is the location where all of the meteorites are coming from. you'll know that, although this is one shower you can successfully watch in the late evening, the best viewing is typically around 2 a.m., no matter where you are on Earth. So the best time of night to watch Gemini meteors is around 2 a.m. when the shower's radiant point near the bright star Castor in the constellation Gemini is high in the sky. If you're not one to stay up late, you can also watch meteors during the evening hours. Although the meteors will be few and far between, at early to mid-evening, you might, if you're lucky, catch an Earth grazer. That's a slow-moving, long-lasting meteor that travels horizontally across the sky. Can you watch a meteor shower online? Well, yeah, it won't be the same experience as being out there in the dark country, but especially if you're clouded out and you can't get out of the city, watching online can be a good way to join the fun. So far, we've heard from only one organization planning to broadcast the Gemini's live. It's SkyLive.tv. That's Sky with a hash between it or a hyphen. SkyLive.tv, which will cover the live event with 3 cameras from the TD Observatory in the Canary Islands, Olivizenda, Extremadura, I don't know where that is, and High Energy Observatory, HESS, in Namibia. Speakers might like SkyLive's TV's Skycam for the Geminis, which has no narration, and they got the link. Can you watch from the southern hemisphere? Well, I don't know. I guess they can. Sure, the temperate latitudes in the southern hemisphere, the meteors tend to be fewer. The Geminis do favor the northern hemisphere, where the radiant appears higher in the sky. However, this shower is also visible from the tropical and subtropical parts of the southern hemisphere. How many meteors will you see? The Geminis are a consistent and prolific shower, but the numbers of meteors you see also strongly depend on your sky conditions and how far you are from city lights. Often in the hours after midnight and under a dark sky, you can see 50 or more meteors per hour. Rates of 120 per hour have been reported at a peak under optimum sky conditions. This is KE5ICX. In 2019, Moonlight will obtrude on this year's production. How many will you see? Hard to say for sure. Just watch and let us know. Remember, meteors and annual showers typically come in spurts and lulls. So give yourself at least an hour of observing time. Particularly, simply sprawl out on a reclining lawn chair, look upward, and enjoy the show. Where do meteors come from? Although meteors are sometimes called shooting stars, they have nothing to do with stars. Instead, they are strictly a solar system phenomenon. Around this time every year, our planet Earth crosses the orbital path of a mysterious object called 3200 Pantheon, which may be an asteroid or burnt-out comet. And I put the orbit up if you want to see it over on the stream. Debris from this object burns up in Earth's upper atmosphere to give us the annual Gemini meteor shower. So the bottom line is, with the moon out nearly all night long, this year's Gemini meteor shower will be marred by moonlight. Peak morning is probably, December 14th, but watch December 13th and 15th. You might catch some Geminis overcoming the moonlit glare. And that's it for me. This is KE5ICX, back to net control.
Thank you so much, Tom. This is Terry B5OZL. Do we have any more check-ins?
So, Foxtrot 5, Tango, Sierra Kilo, Burl in Dallas.
Okay, KF5TSK Burl, welcome to the net. Next up, we have Miss Carolyn's constellation of the month, or topic of the week, and going to turn it over to Mike, KG5P. What you got, Mike?
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Week I thought I had have a number of topics that came during the week. I get this stuff from and Skynet Telescope and Astronomy Magazine and a few other sources, and they're kind of interesting, so I usually bookmark them. The first one is changes afoot about the official measuring stick used to size up big places in America. The reason? There are actually two different definitions for the 12-inch measurement known as the foot. I didn't know that. Some land surveyors use what's known as the U.S. survey foot. Others use the definition that's more accepted by the broader world called the international foot. And the differences between them is so tiny that you can't see it with the naked eye on a 12-inch ruler, but over a long distance it matters. So to reduce the distance for errors and confusion, the federal government has announced that it's finally going to give the boot to the survey foot. Okay, the international foot is the smaller one. That's the new one, adding about 1/8 of an inch of difference when measuring a mile. This means that the United States is 28.3 feet wider when measured using the international foot than of the survey foot. Okay, this change started back in 1959 when the federal government mandated that everyone use the international foot, but allowed surveyors to keep the old U.S. survey foot for a while. This temporary reprieve has lasted 6 years, but it will finally end in 2022. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the National Institute of Standards of Technology announced in October. Surveyors in 40 U.S. states and territories will use the larger U.S. foot. 48 states and territories still use the larger U.S. foot. The rest use the smaller international one. We have chaos, says Michael Dennis, project manager for NOAA's National Geographic Survey Geodetics. The surveying that it takes into account the curvature of the Earth. This is a mess. The small difference may not seem like much, but it's caused trouble in planning for high-speed rail in California. Dennis said that it also creates a mess for bridge work between Oregon, which uses the international foot, and Washington, which uses the U.S. foot. He also relayed a horror story where one surveyor sent him a contractor from a state that uses the U.S. foot planned a building on the glide path of a major airport in the state that uses the international foot. Confusion over the two different feet caused delays, extra cost, and redesign of the building to be 1 foot shorter. He didn't identify the airport. Okay. All right, that's the first one. In 1893, the U.S. government defined a foot as 1,200 meters divided by 3937. You plug these numbers into a calculator and you get 0.348006 meters. The last three digits, in fact, it goes even longer if you want to be technical or important. So, in 1933, the international foot was invented. They just clipped off everything after the 0.0308 meters. So the last three digits get eliminated. Now, why we don't go to the metric system, I don't know. That probably never happened in my lifetime. Okay, KG5P, and article number 2 is SpaceX to make Starlink satellites dimmer to lessen the impact on astronomy. Okay, so after the first Starlink internet satellites will launch in May, astronomers noticed that the little satellites are quite reflective and bright, And with SpaceX reporting that it wants to put 42,000 of these satellites in the sky, astronomers were concerned about it all washing out parts of the night sky. So now the company plans to treat one of the Starlink satellites with a special coating. So when the next group goes up in late December, according to SpaceX President and Chief Operating Officer, they will have this coating on it. So the train of SpaceX Starlink satellites in the sky that from the Netherlands after May 24th, just one day after SpaceX launched 60 satellites, these will they'll be less reflective. So anyway, they go on to say that no one thought of this. They didn't think of the astronomy community, and the astronomy community didn't think of it. So I guess they're going to dull these things down. They've already got 60 Starlink satellites in orbit, and we want to make sure we do the right thing to make little kids can still look through their telescopes. It says astronomy is one of the few things that gets little kids excited about space. 100 mysterious blinking lights in the night sky could be evidence of alien life or something weird, say boffins. What are boffins? I don't know. Never heard of that. Okay. Either way, we'll take a one-way ticket. So existence across Earth's skies over the past 70 years have left scientists giddy. They believe this could be evidence of a previously unseen astronomical phenomena, or, hold tight now, drum roll please, alien civilizations. With pouring over 600 million objects, whittled their search down to just 100 by focusing on observations in space that simply just disappear, or ones that have rapidly fluctuating brightness levels that vary over a 70-year time period. Missions of finding such objects extend from traditional astrophysics fields to the more exotic searches for evidence of technologically advanced civilizations. The study's abstract reads. There might even be wackier explanations for these randomly blinking 100 objects or so. Current searches for extraterrestrial intelligence have considered interstellar optical laser communication in the infrared range as a potential clue for advanced extraterrestrial civilizations. Okay, weird stuff. More weird stuff. Weird physics of tiger stripes on icy Saturn's moon Enceladus. Enceladus. It's finally been explained. Okay, now, new research resolves some of the mysteries of the tiger stripes on Saturn's moon Enceladus. And you've probably seen pictures of it. Okay, it's been of particular interest to scientists ever since it was observed in detail from the Cassini spacecraft. With Cassini's data, scientists detected an icy subsurface ocean on the moon and strange tiger stripe markings on the moon's south pole that are unlike anything else in the solar system. From Enceladus' ocean spews into space through these stripes or fissures in the moon's surface, which are first seen by the Cassini division. Anyway, it goes on to say they're 130 kilometers long and 35 kilometers apart and stuff. So the moon isn't frozen solid because the gravitational changes caused by its eccentric orbit around Saturn stretches it out slightly. These deformed shapes cause the icy sheets at the poles to be thinner and more susceptible to splitting open, they found. This led them to conclude that the fissures that make up these tiger stripes could have formed on the moon's north pole just as well as the south pole, but the south pole just cracked first. They also found that the stripes are parallel because after the first stripe, named for the city of Baghdad, split open and stayed open. So ocean water spewed from it, which caused further parallel cracks to form as ice and snow build up along the edges, and as the water jets froze and fell back down. So we're pretty sure that Enceladus does have water under. For those of you that own meat instruments, I don't personally, but they're perfectly good telescopes. I've seen them, and they're excellent telescopes. Anyway, I just right here where they have filed for bankruptcy. A meat instruments based in Irvine, California, filed for Chapter 11 December 4th, following a loss of a multi-million-dollar antitrust lawsuit brought against it by Orion Telescopes. Filing claims meat debts range between $110 million to $50 million. Mead, along with Sunny Optical, is a subsidiary of the Chinese manufacturer Ningbo Sunny Electronics, or something, having been purchased in 2013. The lawsuit found that Sunny concluded with other Chinese manufacturers in a price-fixing scheme that formed a monopoly on the domestic consumer telescope market. And they go on to say that founded in 1972 by John Diebel, Mead rose from humble beginnings in the amateur astronomy market by selling small refracting telescopes. Its first printed advertisement occurred in page 43 of the 1972 edition of July Sky Telescope. Anyway, so it looks like that one Chinese company is suing another Chinese company over antitrust legislation, and Mead is caught in the middle of it. But apparently they're still in business, and they'll still be producing the Mead brand. Here we go. I think I'll call it quits for tonight, but the video is, there's lots and lots of information that comes out during the week, and take a look at this stuff. It's kind of weird, and it's all interesting, and I know you're interested in it, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be here listening to me now, so I'll kick it back to Net, and next week we'll have our constellation. This is KG5P, back to Net. Thank you, Brenda, KG5P.
Thanks, Mike. Do we have any more check-ins? This is WV50ZL. All right, listener Zoom. Space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX. Go ahead.
Okie, thank you, Miss Brenda. We got everybody doing stuff. This is a very active weekend for all of our usual support folks. So it's me again. Space launches for this week. This information comes from SpaceCoastLaunches.com and SpaceflightNow.com. The next one's coming up. Now, here's the thing that's really interesting about this is that most of these are televised, so you can watch them, at least streaming, on the internet. So, December 16th, which is, 2 days from now, we have SpaceX Falcon 9, JCSat 18, never mind, JSat 18. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch from JCSat 18, communications satellite jointly owned by Sky Perfect JSat Corp of Japan and you'll try and say this, Pacific broadband satellites of Singapore, built by Boeing. The JCSat 18 communication satellite will provide mobile and broadband communications across the Asia-Pacific region. This would be from Cape Canaveral. Launch window is between 7:10 and 8:38 p.m. That again is on December 16th. On the same day, we go Long March 3B from Baidu. This is, of course, in Zhejiang, China. This will launch at 1:20 a.m. our time, Central Standard Time. The Chinese Long March 3B rocket with the Zhejiang upper stage will launch 2 Baidu navigation satellites into medium or Earth orbit. On December 17th, Soyuz will, with booster, CSG-1 and CHOPS, this will launch at, 2:54 a.m. our time from the ELS Seminary, French Guiana. Now, this is the Soviet base, I believe, or the Soviet launch site. An Ariane Space Soyuz rocket designed VS-23 will launch on a mission from the Guiana Space Center in South America. The Soyuz will carry the first Cosmos Skynet second generation or CSG-1 radar surveillance satellite for ASI. That's the Italian Space Agency. The European Space Agency, characterizing exoplanet or CHOPS, will fly as a secondary payload on the mission. Built by Airbus Defense in Space in Spain with a Swiss-developed science experiments, CHOPS will observe transits of planets around other stars to measure their radii. The Soyuz 2-1B or STB rocket will use a Fregat upper stage. December 20th, the ULA Atlas V with the CST Starliner orbital flight test. You heard about this earlier. A United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket designated AB-080 will launch from Boeing's first CST-100 Starliner spacecraft on an unpiloted orbital test flight to the International Space Station. The capsule will dock with the space station and return to Earth to landing in the western United States after an orbital shakedown cruise ahead of a 2-person crew test flight. The rocket will fly in a vehicle configuration with 2 solid rocket boosters and a dual-engine Centaur upper stage. On that same day, on December 20th, there will be a launch of the Long March 4B CBERS-4A. That's at 9:21 p.m. our time. It will launch from Taiyan, China. The Chinese Long March 4B will be launched. As I mentioned, remote sensing satellite CBERS-4A is the 5th China-Brazil Earth Resources satellite for the collection of global imagery for the environment, urban planning, and agricultural applications. This is a long one. I'm sorry. This is amazing that there's so many launches this week. This is like triple the number we normally have. December 24th, a Proton Electro L3. This will launch at 6:15 a.m. our time from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. A Russian government Proton, this is the big boy, and Block DM upper stage will launch from Electro L3 for geostationary weather satellite. On December 26th, the rocket Gonets M will launch from Plistetek Cosmodrome in Russia. The Russian government rocket vehicle with a Breeze KM upper stage will launch 3 Gonet M communication satellites. two more. This is it. December 27th, the Long March 5, Shenzhen 20, which is launching from Wencheng, China. The Chinese Long March 5 rocket will launch the Shenzhen 20 communications satellite. It is the first spacecraft based on the new DFH-5 communications satellite platform, a heavier, higher-powered, next-generation design replacing the Shenzhen 18 satellite launch lost on the launch failure in 2017. It was delayed from November 2018 and is now launching. And then finally, December 30th. This is the inaugural flight of the Cosmic Girl. Now get this, Cosmic Girl, Boeing 747, Mojave Air and Spaceport, California. A Virgin Orbit Launcher 1 rocket will make its first orbital test flight after dropping from a modified Boeing 747, it's a 400 by the way, carrier aircraft over the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. So there you have it. A very busy week. I didn't even include the delayed without an actual date that will probably launch during this period. So over the next couple of weeks, there is a boatload of launches all over the world. So space is accessible by multiple countries in a very profound way. This is KE5ICX, back to net control.
Thank you, Tom. This is WV5OZL. Do we have any check-ins? All right. Our next topic is recent astronomical discoveries. And I have an article entitled, First Identified Comet to Visit Our Solar System from Another Star. When astronomers see something in the universe that at first glance seems like one of a kind, it's bound to stir up a lot of excitement and attention. Enter Comet 21/Borisov, B-O-R-I-S-O-V. This mysterious visitor from the depths of space is the first identified comet to arrive here from another star. We don't know from where or when the comet started heading toward our sun, but it won't hang around for long. The sun's gravity is slightly deflecting its trajectory, but can't capture it because of the shape of its orbit and high velocity of about 100,000 miles per hour. Telescopes around the world have been watching the fleeting visitor. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope has provided the sharpest views of the comet as the comet skirts by our sun. Since October, the Space Telescope has been following the comet like a sports photographer following horses speeding around a racetrack. Hubble revealed at the heart of the comet a loose agglomeration of ice and dust particles is likely no more than about 3,200 feet across, about the length of 9 football fields. The comet Borisov is the first of its kind. No doubt there are many other comet vagabonds out there plying the space between stars. Astronomers will eagerly be on the lookout for the next mysterious visitor from far beyond. These two images taken by Hubble, and you can go to the stream and see those, capture Comet 21/Borisov streaking through our solar system on its way back to interstellar space. It is only the second interstellar object known to have passed through the solar system. The comet appears in front of a distant background spiral galaxy. That's a bunch of numbers. The galaxy's bright central core is smeared in the image because Hubble was tracking the comet. Comet Borisov was approximately 203 million miles from Earth in this exposure. The tail of ejected dust streaks off to the upper right. The comet has been artificially colored due to discriminate fine detail in the halo of dust or coma surrounding the central nucleus. It also helps to visually separate the comet from the background galaxy. Hubble revisited the comet shortly after its closest approach to the sun, where it received maximum heating after spending most of its life in frigid interstellar space. The comet also reached a breathtaking maximum speed of about 100,000 miles per hour. Comet Borisov is 185 million miles from Earth in this photo, near the inner edge of the asteroid belt, but below it. The nucleus, an agglomeration of ices and dust, is still too small to be resolved. The bright central portion is a coma made up of dust leaving the surface. The comet will make its closest approach to Earth in late December at a distance of 180 million miles. Hubble gives us the best upper limit of the size of Comet Borisov's nucleus, which is the really important part of the comet, said David Jewett, a UCLA professor of planetary science and astronomy, whose team has captured the best and sharpest look at this first confirmed interstellar comet. Surprisingly, our Hubble images show that its nucleus is more than 15 times smaller than earlier investigations suggested it might be. Our Hubble images show that the radius is smaller than half a kilometer. Knowing the size is potentially useful for beginning to estimate how common such objects may be in the solar system and our galaxy. Borisov is the first known interstellar comet, and we would like to learn how many others there are. Crimean astronomer Gennady Borisov discovered the comet on August 30th, 2019, and reported the position measurements to the International Astronomical Union's Minor Planet Center in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The Center for Near-Earth Object Studies at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, working with the Minor Planet Center, computed and which shows that it came from elsewhere in our Milky Way galaxy, point of origin unknown. Nevertheless, observations by numerous telescopes show that the comet's chemical composition is similar to the comets found inside our solar system, providing evidence that comets also form around other stars. By the middle of 2020, the comet will have already zoomed past Jupiter's distance of 500 billion miles on its way back to the frozen abyss of interstellar space. That's it. This is from ScienceDaily.com. And we are out of time, so Tom says we can skip the flybys. And do we have any more check-ins? Okay, does anyone have any remarks or questions or need any fills? Tonight we had 15 hymns participating on the air. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda, and I will be closing the net at 10:30 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe.
Thanks, everyone. Miss Brenda, please put me down. Didn't get a chance to get in there. K5, JDW.
Okay, K5JDW. Welcome to the net, and we'll
It's
reach out.
operational. All my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
This is KE5ICX. We'll be back in 5 minutes to discuss the fine railroad science fiction movie called The Alpha Incident. The Alpha Incident from 1978. You know you want to. Plenty more you get. 5 minutes. KE5ICX.
Are we supposed to go powder our noses or something now? WT9V.
Hurry up, you got 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Run.
Powdering do you think my nose needs? Your radio has a pause button. K5JW. Wait, somebody put Tom on pause. Somebody take Tom off pause. WTNV.
Quote one of my favorite movies. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's ethical movie time. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control. As long as my voice will hold out for tonight's Afterglow movie. If everybody's ready, listen up, because this is the premise from this 1977 film, filmed on, I think, 8mm. I'm not sure. But here we go. A space probe returns to Earth from Mars, carrying with it a deadly organism which has the lethal potential to destroy all life on Earth. Being transported across country by train, the microorganism is released when a nosy train employee inspects the cargo. This results in the entire train station being quarantined, waiting for Gadol. Those who happen to be trapped wait for the government to find a cure while trying not to fall asleep, because that's when the unseen killer strikes. No surprise there. That's it on the plot. Moving on. The Alpha Incident was released for the first time on DVD. Why? By Mill Creek Entertainment on August 30th, 2005. I think that was the day that Skynet became operational, as part of its chilling classics 50 movie pack. 50 movies. On August 15th, 2006, it was released by Digital One Stop as part of the Nightmare World 50 movie pack. Mill Creek re-released the movie on 4 separate occasions as part of various multi-film packs in 2007 and 2008. On August 24, 2010, the film was released as a part of a multi-film pack by there's not even a vowel. It's TNT Media Group. On September 31st, that same year, it was released as a single feature by Synergy Entertainment, who have since gone out of business. Alpha Incident received mostly negative reviews upon its release. Ellen Jones from the Radio Times rated the film a -1 out of 5 stars, calling it, quote, an overly talky, feeble fable. Dan Budnick from Bleeding Skull also criticized the film as being overly talky, while also criticizing the film's underwritten and unlikable characters and sluggish pacing. On his website, Fantastic Movie Musings and Ramblings, who 2 or 3 people visit every decade, Dave Sindelar similarly criticized the film's unlikable characters, with character interactions being repetitious and tiresome. Sindelar also criticized the film's poor acting and dialogue. All right. So, hearing that, I have an additional comment to make. The poster for the movie looks like it was done by a 3rd grader. I'm just saying that. But I found the movie quite interesting in so many different ways that I probably can't even explain. So, let's do this. This is KE5ICX. I'm Tom. I am net control this evening for as long as I can stay alive with whatever the hell is going on with me for the last 2 weeks. But in any case, let's do this. Let's go ahead and take check-ins. This is using your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from, and did you see this filmy, the Alpha incident? Now, if you didn't, you can still check in because we're going to talk about alien invasion stuff on a microscopic level. So here we go. Please come with your call sign, your name, your location, and did you see this film, the Alpha incident from 1977? Please come now.
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto, and of course I saw this movie.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving. Yeah, I saw it.
So, Foxtrot 5, Tango, Sierra Kilo, girl in Dallas. I saw something, I'm not sure what it was. I assumed Tom would have left town, that, this was going to be one of those films that he would say, I'd rather not be here. I have somewhere to go. KSI TSK back to net.
India, Mike Sierra. Yes, I saw the movie. Not only did I see it, I actually have a copy.
Don't go to sleep. Your head might explode. I'm not admitting to anything. Y'all know who I am.
It's Killer Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. If I saw it at a high rate of speed, did I really see it?
Right. N5IMS, that's JJ over in Carrollton, who came in over the thing. He says our recent film shows appear to have stay awake or die theme. That's true. All right, let me get the check-ins. Hopefully I got these right. One person didn't even identify. I won't mention their names. Michael didn't give me even a call sign. Bad boy. So I'll get that and clarify it in a moment. We've got WB5OZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto. Yep, she saw it. N5BB, Bill in Irving. Yep, he saw it. KFI TSK, Burrow in Dallas. Yep, he saw it. N5IMS, JJ in Carrollton, over on Echoing. Yep, he saw it. And Michael, who didn't even tell me if he saw the film or anything, please give me your full call sign and your FRN number for the FCC, please, and did you see the movie?
This is Michael, Whiskey Tango, 9 Victor, FRN number 0028338937, and I saw the movie. Are we all happy now?
type, please.
A positive.
Better than T negative. Okay, I got you checked in. Michael, you did see the movie. KC5P said WJ near Weatherford. I got you in over on Echolink. Let's see. I will take chickens over Echolink. If you would like to join us, please come now with your call sign, your name, your location. Did you see the Alpha incident? Please come now. Fine, they all fell asleep. I will take additional check-ins. Whether you saw this fine film, The Alpha Incident from 1977 or 78, we don't know. Alien invasions on trains. Even if you didn't see it, if you like trains, or you like science fiction, or you hate bad science fiction on trains, please check in now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and did you see this film? Please come now.
This is Whiskey 5 called Juliet Tango. Name is Jean, and I'm from Carrollton. I've not seen the movie.
Oh, we have a new live one. Whiskey 5, Zulu Tango. That's Gene in Carrollton. You didn't see the movie, but that doesn't mean you're exempt from comments. Gene, can you give me your full call sign again? Whiskey 5 something, Zulu Tango.
The call sign is Whiskey 5 Golf Juliet Tango. Whiskey 5 Golf Juliet Tango.
Excellent, I got you. Whiskey 5 Golf Zulu Tango. Gene, over in Carrollton. You're going to have to make major comments. You're the new guy, which means that you're going to have to decide if everybody else is correct in their analysis of a movie you haven't seen. But it doesn't matter, because in the end, even if you haven't seen the movie, when you hear the comments, you're going to go, there's something wrong with this movie, or there's something wrong with the people who have reviewed this movie. So, Gene, you're our anchor. You are the guy that's going to make this make sense to all of this. So, you have to take notes. And this is KE5ICX. I'm Net Control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. The Alpha Incident from 1977. Now, here are the rules, and everybody here knows them except for Gene, who may be Net Control next week. Here it is. We talk about this movie, we talk about the plot, then we talk about the characterization, and then we talk about the special effects. And usually by the time we get to special effects, everybody's asleep. But you never know. So here we go. And the good news is Tom, as Net Control, can wait until the very end and act as though he's already taken copious notes and knows everything about this movie, and then can criticize everyone's comments, except those who haven't seen the movie, which would be Gene in this case. So let's start at the top. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto, you saw the movie. Tell us about the plot. What did you think about the plot? How did this work out? Is it that this film doesn't get more recognition except by the 50-pack? Please come now. This is KE5ICX.
This is WV5OZL. Well, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I'll have to say that. And it's what made it fun. The plot. Any other movie I've seen where there's some extremely dangerous substance that's going to kill all of humanity, they don't just stick it in a box and put it on a train with one guy to guard it. They put it in the first part that's ridiculous. Then we have the contrived plot idea that this goober just opens the box because he's so curious, and it gets out. So these people are trapped in the depot, which apparently is on a desert island or something, because nobody ever comes. There's no mail delivery, there's no people visiting, there's no people coming in for their shift, and they're totally isolated. So they had to do a lot of stupid things to make this thing even halfway work. They, of course, they don't exactly explain what happens or why it happens or how this thing works or how they got it. Just a whole lot of things where they just ignored the answers. All right, I'll turn it back. This is WV5OZL.
Thank you, Miss Brenda, and I really appreciate that you're number one on the runway as we fly up into the ground. Next up, N5BB, Bill. You admit to seeing the Alpha incident from 1977 or 70, I don't know what it is, but your thoughts on the plot, and make it good, from KE5ICX.
This is N5BB. I don't know if it's possible for me to make it good. It's asking a lot, Tom. I actually remember the 1970s. And yes, they actually had a rotary dialed, pretty old telephone. But the guy in the control center had a touch-tone push-button phone, an old early touch-tone phone. So that's where they were coming from. That was about the limit of the special effects. Unless you call the ooze coming out of the mouse had a special effect. The huge pixelation covered up the spicy scene, one or maybe two, and covered up the probably exploded brain at the end. It's not really clear. The plot was pretty simple. You could pretty much figure out what was going to happen. Who really thought they were going to be rescued? Nobody. The plot was just really, really simple. And they just figured out how to let him sit there for an hour and a half doing nothing. So, I don't know. They didn't need much plot. It wasn't much development. It's IBB. That's all I got for plot. That's all there is.
Thank you, Bill. Is that all there is, my friends? Then let's keep dancing, smoking cigarettes, and watching Captain Kangaroo. That's a song. It's kind of a cool song, but let's see. Now, as someone who's thoughtful and really appreciates movies, art house films, the ability to be able to really pull out the essence of plots and story and character and all of that is the grand narrator, the grand, what is it? The oracle. That would be KFITSK. Burl, help us out of the wilderness. This is KE5ICX. Your job is to explain the plot.
TSK. I looked through the whole thing and I couldn't find the plot. I mean, it was so ridiculous that, well, they couldn't cure us, so they just sent us cyanide pills, but we just went to sleep. So many things that just didn't fit. The telephones, I was, just thinking that, rotary phone versus a digital phone, it was almost like they were trying to portray it back into the past, but, didn't really go there. They want to guard something, but how big are the vials? Probably 2 ounces each if they use the boxcar to transport it, and 1 key to open everything, and a guard that he wasn't a guard, he was a bioscientist, and really didn't know how this was going to end, and probably still not sure. KF5TSK back to net.
Earl, I want to thank you for your comments. You really tried to bring something out that shouldn't have been brought out, but you did an excellent job, and I appreciate you. And we're going to have a moment of silence for Burl's attempt to explain this movie. So, everybody, bow your heads. We're going to take 20 seconds of silence for this movie. Thank you, Burl. You know what's really great about 20 seconds of silence is everybody wants to go to the bathroom, but you can't do that because next up is N5IMS, JJ, and Carrollton. You saw this movie? Tell us what you thought about it. The plot, please. N5IMS from KE5ICX.
Keeping with my idea that you should always try and find the best in the worst of situations. Let me talk about the plot. I'll let you figure out if that means it's the best or worst, but, I'll talk about the plot anyway. Well, the plot was a magnificent way of writing and, plot exposition and everything to try and get that in there. It sounds so simple, let's have 5 people trapped in a train station in the middle of nowhere waiting to die. Sounds simple. Well, they made it complex. You had the lech who kept trying to get after the beautiful woman who was waiting on a date that even she admitted was never going to show up. You had the drunk that was on the train that damaged the devices and helped spread thing, which eventually killed at least most of the people in there. Let me reset. And the scientist who couldn't explain anything and didn't really seem to understand much of anything. So, makes you wonder if he was sent to guard the thing and get in there, because he could spout a few complex words trying to explain it, but wouldn't be useful back in the lab trying to find the cure for it. And so, that's kind of how you have this complex intermingling of the 5 characters doing absolutely nothing, trying to expand upon the very simple present of 5 people sitting around for an hour and a half to 2 hours doing absolutely nothing. So that's my take on the plot. This is N5IMS. Oh, and by the way, I am through RF tonight.
Well, thank you, JJ, and I appreciate your comments and the fact that you exposed this movie for what it is, which is not a lot, and you were bold enough, first off, to take notes and actually explain the plot while the rest of us were drinking like fish on Friday night, trying to somehow block this movie out of our minds. But I appreciate it very much. Next up, KG5T, that's Michael. He's somewhere, I don't know, Richardson, who knows, maybe on a train somewhere. Michael, tell us about the plot. And you better make it better than JJ, because he did an excellent job. So, tell us, from KE5ICX.
Me?
Oh, wait a minute. I wrote down WT9 Victor. WT9 Victor. I messed up. I crossed it out, and I'm torturing a small animal because I messed up. Go ahead, Michael, from KE5I6.
All this time, and dinner Thursday night, and you still don't know my call sign. And I was sitting right next to you with that big badge right there, right in front of you. And I'm hurt. I'm really hurt. But I'll try and soldier on. So basically, I have about as much for the plot as this movie had plot, i.e. none. So I'll just make comments instead. It didn't have any sci-fi in it. I'm disappointed. It didn't have enough trains in it. I'm disappointed. It didn't have any good dialogue in it. I'm disappointed. The plot was dumb to the point of not being, pretty much being non-existent. I'm disappointed. You might be sensing a pattern here. Now, you went and read what I was going to read, so I had to go and find something else to read. Thanks a lot, Tom. I was surprised that it was only rated -1 out of 5. It seems overly generous to me. I would have given it like a -4 out of 5, but that's just me. So here's something I read, and I think it was really good. It said, this one was a chore to get through in as much as it confuses building of tension with nothing at all happens. To this, the bland, obnoxiously dull, two-dimensional and unsympathetic characters, and you find it very hard to care for these people's plight, least of all what is happening, or in this case, not happening, on screen. And also, the Alpha Incident is most likely the finest film that Bill Rebane ever directed. It follows a template that hundreds of other low-budget filmmakers have utilized. Find a reason to isolate a small group of varied characters and let them talk it out for 90 minutes or so. Forcing characters with different personalities into the same room provides a natural source of conflict, while the claustrophobic setting invariably ratchets up the tension. Only sheer incompetence could ruin a movie like this, and Bill, thankfully, manages to follow through. Or as another reviewer put it, oh dang, who dropped this movie in the toilet? Come on, just dry it off a little bit and I'm sure it'll be fine. WT9V, back to net. That's WT9V, Tom. Talk to you later. Back to net. WT9V.
Well, thank you, V9TW. I appreciate your comments, and you actually took notes. That is really scary. And you actually did give a wonderful analysis of the plot or lack of plot and the fact that people go off on different directions. Okay, next up is KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. Give us your thoughts on the plot.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Oh, how to top all of that? Yeah, it was a challenge to get through. I literally had to speed it up. I mean, I've done that before with a lot of films, but I felt like at least like at some point it was like, oh, I'll have a normal speed. No. They had the idiot, and I thought that was a diss to all conductors everywhere. I don't really know. I mean, I know one guy. I know a few guys that used to do trains, and I mean, I don't know if they were conductors or what, but I don't know. That was just, and I'm not even gonna go there. The one realistic thing, somebody was talking about phones, and I was like, when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, we had a rotary phone, pulse-driven. Had it until about, I can't remember when the system changed over, but it was rotary or pulse, and then it switched over to something where you could use pulse or dial tone, and then it seems like it was mid to late 90s, it only went to dial tone. So, yeah, that wasn't that bad. But the other bits, just can't really say anything, I don't know, good. I mean, didn't really make, they had the guy get injured. He was apparently, he's just, literally just, who knows what was happening to him, and just spreading this stuff all over the countryside. And so, I don't know, maybe they were thinking of a sequel or something, and how half of I don't even know where it was. Washington, I don't know my Canadian provinces. I know it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even care that much. I just knew it was remote and whatever. But anyway, still a lot of biology around, a lot of plants and stuff, and just having this guy with this alien substance just kind of walk around and just potentially muck everything up. But it just, oh man. I mean that could be a plot element if it were written any better. It could have jumped a lot of stuff from there, but they didn't. It was a isolated, but not really isolated. It should have been an island or something. That would have made a little more sense, I guess. Especially if it was a hydrophobic substance and just wouldn't work with. I mean, not really hydrophobic, but this. I'm having. Seems like I'm actually trying to integrate the Andromeda strain into what this film should have been, which is of course, and the Andromeda drown. Oh my gosh, it's late. I can't speak right. Anyway, we've reviewed that film a lot better, and it's a lot better than this. It's just okay. Let me reset. Just a few other things. Yeah, it's the most pointless thing in the world. You had the scientists that weren't that eventually. It's not that I mean, you don't have situations where people work on a problem and they don't solve it and everything, and so we're just gonna push it under the rug or whatever. Sure, that happens, but you're going to tell a story, you expect something to actually come from it. And, of course, that did not happen. I will say I actually kind of expected some sort of weird miracle, something, I don't know. I'm not really sure. It didn't. The story didn't make sense as it was. To have it resolve in 5 minutes would have been something, and I guess it was a resolution, but kind of, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. KG5EZW.
KG5ZIX, did I hear Andromeda strain in there somewhere?
Wait. Andromeda strain? A movie? That was Michael Crichton's story that was good? No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about trains. KE5ICX. Go ahead, tell us more.
I'm sorry, I've got a handy talking. I heard that gentleman talking about something or other, and I thought I heard the word Andromeda strain, and it's a movie that really sticks out in my mind. So I'll back off. KG5ZIX, Joe in Wiley.
No, it's okay, Joe. We're having our movie discussion, and yeah, you're right. This is Andromeda strain, not very well done. So, no, you're absolutely welcome. This is the Afterglow Movie Net that we talk about. A great, good, not so good, bad, terrible movie. And you have wandered into probably the worst movie we have ever reviewed after, 5 years we've been doing this, maybe more. So, Joe, it's okay. I'll ask you directly, have you seen the Alpha incident from 1977, 78, I don't know, whatever, because I'm putting you on the list whether you want to be or not. Please go ahead. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for the Afterglow Movie Net. Joe, go ahead.
KG5ZIX. The Alpha, I'm not quite sure about that. My wife and I graduated from high school around 78 or 79, and she probably is a better movie person than I am, but she's asleep right now, so I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Oh, it's okay, because nobody else knows about this movie until, I don't know, last Sunday when we mentioned it. I hadn't heard of it either, but it's okay. Somebody has it in his collection. Joe, hang in there, man, because you may have some comments. This movie is this movie is. Next up is, hang in there, Joe. I'll come back to you in a bit. Let's see who we got. Oh, W5GZT. That's Gene in Carrollton. You didn't see the movie, but what do you think? Is it like the Andromeda strain? Have you seen alien invasion, microorganism stuff? What do you think about the comments about the movie? Are these guys and gals living up to expectations? Gene, you're on the hot seat. W5GZT from KE5ICX. All right, Gene ran off, and I don't blame him. I would too. There'd be this big explosion with lasers and everything, and a big crater, and you got to run for cover. All right, my comments about this movie. Who picked this darn movie? The Alpha Incident from 1977. This, to me, was exactly what it was supposed to be, which is the low-budget version of the Andromeda strain. There's no way to not accept it as that. It also had somebody who had a train fetish, which meant that there were couplers and trains and little sidecar things, whatever you call those things. Whoever created this definitely had a train fetish. Let's face it. The other is that how do you fill in the train fetish with something? Well, the answer is you go ahead and do Samuel Beckett's The Waiting for Godot, or Godot, or whatever you want to call it. Nobody can figure that one out, which is essentially everybody sits in the train station waiting for something to happen. And ultimately, nothing really happens. And that's what this movie is all about. That's why it's part of the 50-pack, which means 50 movies somewhere down the road while you're on your cocaine adventure and you're wide awake and you have to watch 50 movies in, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, and you're wide awake. You just put it on like a long LP record and just go ahead and run them over and over and over again. Well, not over and over and over again, where you're watching them one after another after another. And this movie shows up as number 37 on the 50-pack. Now, as far as the setup, as Burl said, you know, why on earth would anybody just leave this one guy to take care of this, this alien thing. Project Scoop. Oh wait, that's a good movie. And not allow anybody to come in except that everybody shows up and does stuff to the thing. I don't know. What do you do? How do you handle it? You don't. This is the government. We're here to help you. And that's exactly what happens through this whole thing. And somehow or another, I can't remember the ending, which seems to happen a lot with these films. But let me reset. And this is a problem with all science fiction films. How do you end the thing? Well, you can end it brilliantly or not. And science fiction is particularly difficult to deal with in this regard because you create these incredible plots, and then somehow or another, you got to make it end. You got to make it satisfying, and that's why you got the who are they? Who are those guys? Wait a minute, I'll think of them in a second. Steven Spielberg's and the Stanley Kubrick's and the other folks who I can't think of right now because this was really terrible. But you've got to have a fifth act or a fourth act and pay off. I can't even remember how this damn thing ends because it became this incredible, long, waiting for Godot thing, where the characters are waiting for something to happen. Oh, people are helping me now. They're sending me little notes. But in the end, you know what I would do? I'd go ahead and just have an atomic bomb. The aliens blow up the Earth, which is one of the movies we saw. They blow up the Earth. And that ends this terrible, long-term thing going on. Okay, that's enough for me. Let's go to the top of the list, or let me see if there are additional people who check in. If you have something to say about the Alpha incident from 1977 or 78, I don't know which, or you saw the Andromeda Strain, which is a much better version of this film, and you want to discuss the finer points of that, or you know something about trains, railroad stuff, you can be a part of this discussion. That's all you need to do. Please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Inside BB. Well, Bill, you're second on the list as we go to the top, but please go ahead. Nobody else wants to step into the light. Please go ahead.
Well, you gave a general call. If you listen to what you were saying, it was the end of the movie was the guys came in the Jeep with in silvery suits. They got out, and the protagonist, the agent guy, he woke up and realized he'd been asleep and he didn't die. So he was really, really happy. And then one of the guys with the silvery suits had a laser gun, and he zapped him. That's how it ended. It was a real bummer. Really, really bummer. I just got to say something about Hank, the bumbling fool. He really was a bumbling fool. He was an over-the-top bumbling fool. He was a very foolish bumbling fool. He went in and did what you knew he was going to do. He broke the vials that weren't even very safe. They weren't locked up in some incredibly hard to break into safe. So I'm glad they got him out of the movie before the end because he was getting really tiring. The only thing more tiring than him was Jack. He was a jackass. That's what he was. Inside BB.
KG5ZIX, it sounds like Dr. Smith. He was kind of a fool, too.
Frank, I got you in here. Zombies need jobs. Frank, welcome. Frank, replace the batteries now. Now. I'll come back to you. I've got you here. You want to try one more time? All right, he faded away. Let's see. Let's go to the top of the list. This is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, talk about characterization or whatever you want. I don't know. This thing may fade fast. Go ahead. Brenda, WB50ZL from KE5I6.
This is WB50ZL. This thing's lasted almost an hour. I thought it was going to last 10 minutes. But somehow it's managed to hang on. Characters. I hated every one of them, and I was really glad when they died. I wouldn't want to know any of these people. They're just not my kind of people. They're awful. Mostly they were extreme, what's the word I want? Caricatures. You know, the woman was so silly. She was vain. She was vapid. Typical. And the hillbilly was insufferably stupid. And I could, and then the guy who kept drinking was just worthless. And the main character as a protagonist really just didn't seem to have much going on. He didn't have much personality. He didn't seem to be very smart. So, why would they set up a movie where nobody's likable? It's because you can accept that they all get killed. Actually, the old guy that got infected first, he was probably the least unlikable of the bunch. And let's see, why is it there's always a collection of men and one woman? There's always one woman on the spaceship, or one on the expedition. I've never understood that, why they limit it to just one. It's some sort of formula they have to follow. All right, I'm going away. WB50ZL.
Said they were just crummy? Alright, fine. This is KE5I6. We were talking about the Alpha incident from 1977 or 78. Lots of trains and aliens. Well, no aliens, but people sitting in a train station. It was really great, or not. Next up is Bill. Bill had his comments. He did a break, and then he ran away. So, Bill, I'm skipping you on this one because, well, you went out of order, and that's very bad. KF5 TSK, Burl, your comments on characterization, please. This is KE5ICX.
This KF5 TSK. I would say that it was just a poor script. You know, they find out that they've been exposed to something, and it's, you know, they're not, you know, really shocked or confused, or, you know, have you had contact? Well, we shook hands, and it's like, oh, no one ever thought that they should go wash their hands. Maybe they could do something. You know, you have a woman who flirts with a man she doesn't like, and they show this scene of her going to change clothes into something more seductive, and you know, they fade out the screen, and I was like, well, what does this mean? And it's like, they faded it out, but then they went back and showed everything. So, you know, it kept you confused. The scientist didn't work for the railroad, but the railroad people thought he worked for the railroad. Like I said, that throughout the whole thing, it didn't seem to have the urgency that, you know, the little helicopter that they sent in, it looked, oh, we'll just drop a few things down. They only need lunch today. One of the things at the end of the film, the soldiers that arrived with the protective suits, they had a guy driving the Jeep. He didn't have anything on. I was like, I wonder what that was about. I think they could have done a lot to, you know, build up the action. It just seemed like they had little subtitles, and they could do that, but it didn't really fit, you know, in the whole plot. KF5 TSK, back to net.
Thank you, Burl, and thank you for grasping at straws on that one. It's most appreciated. Let's see, next up on the list, I got people crossed off. Oh, Michael, WT9V or V9TW. Michael, your comments on the characterization. Keep it tight. From KE5ICX.
Well, unlike some people who talked about the characters during the plot section and other people who talked about the plot during the characterization section, I have no sensible comments. I wish the aliens had blown up the Earth. It had been less painful than watching this movie. And then Brenda stole my comments about hating everyone and being glad that they died, but before I was going to say that, I thought, well, that sounded too mean, even for me, so I wasn't going to say it, but then Brenda said it, so I didn't have to. Everybody's reading my mind tonight, which is probably explains why all I've got in my head at the moment is static. Oh, right, notes. I have notes, or a couple of notes. Dr. Rogers seems to have gone to the James T. Kirk school of how to emphasize the wrong words in a sentence. And then such two-dimensional characters. Jackson ass, Charlie's limp, Jenny's all over the place, Sorensen is inconsistent. Basically, like Brenda said, oh wait, I did put this down. I hated all the characters and I'm glad most of them died. That's about all I got.
WT9V. Back to you, Tom.
My goodness. That's really gloom and doom. Thank you, Michael. That's probably the best thing I've heard all night long. KG5BZWJ, near Weatherford, your comments on characterization from KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. There's not much to say on characters. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's not much to say, because no matter how bad, there's always worse. And you can always delve into how bad something is. Excuse me. Dang, hold on. Okay. Hopefully that coughing fit is over. Yeah, there's not much about the characters I like either. The woman was pretty to look at, and that was obviously her. The aspect I guess they were going for. Although, well, now I'm like okay, so what was the marketing? What was the marketing idea here? A lot of guys trying to just throw kind of a sci-fi themed horror flick at a bunch of teens and try to get their money. What was the whole thing? I should, if I'd really been curious about this film, I'd have actually gone to IMDb and done that kind of research or thing, but I just can't get that interested. The one thing that I did think that was kind of cool, of course, like you mentioned, Tom, about somebody having train fetish, like producer or somebody. There were some interesting track vehicles I'd never seen before, and so I was exposed to that, which is kind of cool. I've been to a few. I'm far from a train enthusiast, but I have been to a few train museums and rode Durango train, or of course a lot of these trains I've been exposed to older trains. But anyway, it's like I'm just trying to figure out something else to talk about, because I don't know what else to talk about in this film. Okay, before I go, I was looking through the chat. M5IMS said you skipped him, so you might want to call on him. And otherwise, I don't know. I'm ready for this. There's the special effects round. I don't know what you can say on that either. So I'm just kind of like, oh, let's just get this review over with and see what we're watching next week. KG5BCW.
Didn't copy any of that. KG5ZIX, I just know I want a ticket on that Andromeda's train.
Hey, Joe, I'm coming to you. Please stand by. I missed somebody. I got M5IMS, JJ over in Carrollton, and Joe, you're next after that. So, JJ, go ahead. You had comments. I skipped you. I'm sorry. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Hi, Tom. Normally I'm just chatting, so I can understand being skipped pretty easily. But, I had a few comments. Charlie, the Meek station manager, I think it was fitting that it was played by the actor with the last name of Meeker because he played a very meek character. I wonder where they got that idea to do that. But you could always tell that there was something about him that just wasn't right. And of course, when the couple had the scene in the train track, you saw him sneak away to see what he could see of that. So you kind of understood what he was, what the issue was with him. So, there was that part. Now, the scientist, he just seemed very one-dimensional. Did not seem all that bright, did not seem to have any answers, and they tried to cover up him not having many of the answers by saying, it's classified or what have you, but, I think that was just his way of saying is, I don't know, they just sent me on here to watch the Bibles, and I even blew that episode, so, what can you say? Let me reset. And Jack, he was just the, lecherous guy. Basically, he drank even though, that's a sedative, but he was also on an amphetamine, which is an upper, so he had both uppers and downers in his system. Yet he still didn't fall asleep until the very end, so, makes you wonder what's going on with that. And, I think Hank was, the train, I don't think he could be an engineer. I think he was basically just the one who rode in the caboose that kind of kept the thing going and get in there. And speaking of trains in there, I'll get back to the other character in a moment. But speaking of trains, they promised us an engine would show up, and they didn't give us that. So they promised us 2 trains, and all we had was a track tender, which is that yellow car with the kind of trailer behind it, and a train. And they didn't give us the other train, even though they promised it. So, felt kind of shortchanged there. Now, the girl, she was one that, she tried to, act like she was above everybody and, was, prim and proper when obviously from the other scenes you could tell that she wasn't quite so prim and proper as you thought. And, perhaps Bill watched a slightly different version than we had. Of course, mine was from the 50-pack, which I'll get to in a little bit as well. So it may have been that, they edited it for what was on YouTube, but did not edit it from the DVD here. So, they showed a bit more. And, there was not complete nudity, but you did see some nudity in there, which was probably the reason why she was in there. Basically something for Jack to, hit on to make his character round out some. Plus, you had to have the nudity in there during that time, or it really wasn't a film. It would have been, a cartoon or a children's film at that point. So that takes care of that. Let me reset again. Now, as far as the 50-pack set, my 50-pack set is the 50 movies of sci-fi classics. Now, you said that this was last. Actually, on the very back of the box, it is the first movie listed. So there's that. But then again, it's stuck way back on disc 8, side B. So, it's kind of hard to get to, and took me a bit to make sure I had the right side of the DVD up, and then I had to advance past the first movie that was on the DVD so I could watch what we were looking for. So, the 50-pack isn't as much fun as you might think. So you've got that going. But that's generalization on the characterization is they were all very one-dimensional. It just didn't. It almost seemed like, hey, Jack, you're the lush, you're the scientist, you're the this, you're the that. Just go in there. We don't really have a script. Just kind of improvise and do that. Now, had they actually done that, it might have been a much more interesting movie. So I just leave it at that. It's N5IMS, back to net.
Thank you, Jay. And you had some excellent comments, and you took notes. You get an A for taking notes on this film. What I do is I go ahead, well, never mind. But in any case, you do what you have to do. Okay. This is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net, the Alpha Incident from 1977. I do have Joe, KG5ZIX, who did not see the movie, but he does recognize very cunningly that this movie is a knockoff of the Andromeda Strain. So, Joe, any comments you want, and anything that you've heard, you can use Andromeda Strain as a reference point, or you can ask interrogative questions about the fact that the Alpha Incident is a bad knockoff with trains. But please go ahead. KG5ZIX from KE5ICX.
Yes, sir. KG5ZIX, Joe and Wiley. I remember the Andromeda Strain when I was a kid, and that's the only reason I tuned in to the channel, because I heard somebody mention that as a reference. And that was a pretty wild movie. And then I heard somebody else mention that it sounded like the Andromeda Train, like a choo-choo. So I kind of got a kick out of that. Anyway, I'm just monitoring you guys. I appreciate the camaraderie. And the Andromeda Strain really sticks to my mind from when I was a kid. I'm not sure who that lady was. Not Bette Midler, whatever her name was. There was that amoeba thing that was leaking through some piece of a broken screen or something like that. Anyway, sticks to my mind a lot. I mean, I have no idea about the movie you guys are talking about, just the Andromeda Strain. Not the train. Strain. Took out my mind.
Oh, thank you so much. I gotta tell you, I somehow I didn't put that together, and maybe heard it elsewhere earlier, but it's great. This should have been billed as the Andromeda Train. That is exactly right. That's what this was. And I'll bet you somehow or another somebody sitting in a bar somewhere drinking excessively with other people around them said, we should make a movie. We can call it the Andromeda Strain. No, train. As they hear a train in the background. Oh, and that would happen. And, I got to tell you a story because this movie is so terrible that I don't have any stories to tell because I'm at the bottom of the list myself as net control. And that is, I went to, where it was? It was somewhere in Louisiana, in a little town, and we went off to a bar restaurant thing, and it sat right on the railroad tracks. And we're sitting there, and we're eating. And this train comes through, and everything vibrates around. I mean, it's like the Blues Brothers with everything vibrating as the loop, the Chicago Rapid Transit goes by so close to Jake and Elwood. This is exactly what it felt like. This incredible feeling of rumbling as this freight train goes by, and everybody sits there and eats, and everybody's shouting at one another because they can't hear anything. these people are sitting there waiting for the train that's never going to show up. They got the sidecar thing. What is that? What is it called? The track tender out there. That's the only thing we got because we can't afford a real train because it costs so much. And yeah, you're going. So what happens next? Nobody knows. Nothing happens, which is waiting for Godot. So let me say this about that, as Richard Nixon once said. This story has heavy influence with Samuel Beckett and the Waiting for Godot, with a track tender and aliens from the Andromeda strain, Michael Crichton. I mean, you're taking from the very best. You're mixing it all together and creating not so good. But this movie made it to the top 50 bad movies you could buy for $4.98. JD, N5 IMS, how much did you pay for the 50-pack from KE5ICX?
Paid, I think, less than $5. It was on the closeout rack at Walmart. I actually got 3 sets, Code Classics, Sci-Fi Classics, and one other, and they were all the same price, and you could actually spend more money on a single DVD. So, it was cheap. I didn't, it may still have been a waste of money, I'll admit that, but at least I didn't waste that much money, this N5 IMS.
You heard that from N5 IMS, JJ. JJ, you mentioned and you said in your statement that this movie was #1 listed on the long list of 50 movies. Is that not correct, KE5ICX?
Yes, on the back cover, it is the top one on the list. But then again, it is in alphabetical order, and Alpha does kind of rise at the top. Last one on the list is The Wild Woman of Longo or whatever. So, it's obviously in alphabetical order, this N5 IMS.
Well, thank you, JJ. N5 IMS, you are stating that you automatically assume that this movie is at the top of the list, yet in your testimony you said that this movie could be at the top of the list, but now you change your testimony and you state that it's in alphabetical order. Which is it?
Was not under oath at the time, so therefore no prosecution can be had. But, it's one of those. I noticed it was at the very top of the list when I was looking in there and getting a thing, but after looking at the list, it's in alphabetical order. So, in effect, those are correct, but I don't think they rated it by quality. I think they rated it by alphabetic. N5 IMS.
WT9V.
Thank you, N5 IMS. WT9V, you are welcome to cross-examine the witness. Please go ahead.
I would like to just offer this affidavit. Brenda gave it to me. It's written in crayon. That points out that it may be at the top of a list, but it all depends on what list it is. It might be the top of the list of the worst movies of all time. And that sounds perfectly like what we suffered through. 17IV.
KG5ZIX.
KG5ZIX. You can cross-examine the witness.
appreciate that opportunity. I'm not quite sure if I've been clarified about the difference between the Andromedas strain and the Andromedas train. Did that ever get clarified? I'm afraid I got overlooked on that.
Thank you, Joe. It is obvious from the prosecution that Joe does not know the difference between the Andromeda train and the Andromeda strain. This could be a problem when it comes to actually providing forthright examination and facts. Therefore, I have to ask, where's Colonel Trevor, I think his name is, he should know the answer to this. Does anyone wish to make a motion, a statement about what we are listening to, the Andromeda train or the Andromeda strain? Please come now with your call sign.
T9V.
Court recognizes WT9V. Please go ahead.
As far as I'm concerned, neither one of them had trains in it. At least not enough to count. So that's all I got to say about that. So I don't think either one of them were the Andromeda train. You seem fixated on trains, but I'm not sure why. WT9V.
All right, as witness to prosecution, I am going to go ahead and ask if anyone has any additional comments tonight as we creep to the midnight hour. Any comments? I am going to throw it open or throw something as to anything you would like to discuss about the Andromeda incident, which is the Andromeda train or the Andromeda strain. Please come now with your call sign. This is your last chance.
KF5TSK.
KFI-TSK, Burl, you may have the last word in all of this. Please come forward with your evidence from KE5ICX.
Well, in the movie, the railroad employee, he was shot by the scientist when he was trying to escape. And I kept looking at him, and, I mean, it was like, oh, I forgot about it. He didn't bleed. He had no pain. He was dancing. He was hugging the woman. And I kept looking at his shirt, and it was like, well, he did have a stain on it, but, that was really miraculous that you get shot in the shoulder and you're not worried about bleeding or anything. KF5TSK back to net.
Amazing. Simply amazing. And simple and not so much on the amazing part. Okay, let's see. Does anyone else have any additional comments? Please come now.
F5IMS.
I've got N5IMS and then somebody crushed you. The other station that tried to destroy K5IMS, please come out.
Up the building.
That would be me, and I only have medium power. WT9V.
Okay, I got N5IMS and WT9V. Let's start with JJ. Go ahead. Your final comments, please.
I'm basically making a plea to the judge or jury, whoever is going to decide my fate. First off, this actually isn't the first movie that I've watched from this set. I can't find the other one scrolling down, but I do remember there being at least one other, I think two other movies from this net that were on this set. So, I did at least get my money worth out of this one. And the second one is, I really didn't know when I was buying it. It just sounded fun. So, please take that into account before you throw me into prison for the rest of my life. This is N5IMS.
Thank you, JJ. You are admitting to more serious crimes. Bailiff, please take him away. WT9V, Victor or not. Michael, your final comments on this film. Please go ahead. Be careful. Anything you say can be and will be used against you. Please go ahead.
Oh, I have no doubt of that. I do want to point out that you keep saying that it's, the movie is with trains, but really the only worthwhile train-related thing that happened in the film was the fact that they closed the valves on the brake line before they decoupled the last boxcar. And, otherwise there would have been a lot more than that little puff of air that came out when the glad hands pulled apart. Usually Hollywood screws up things like that. Secondly, this was the worst lit movie I think I've ever seen. Back to you, Tom. WT9V.
You do realize, Michael, that it's always darkest before dawn. Dark. Dark, I tell you. All right. Anybody have any final comments before I reveal the next fine film we'll be watching next week? Please come now.
This is WB50ZL.
WB50ZL. You have the final word. Please make it good. From KE5ICX.
Well, one flaw in this is they kept saying this thing came from Mars, which I find highly unlikely, and they never explained it. Did we send a probe there and then it managed to come home, or did the Martians send it? It never really explained, and as far as I know, there aren't any live organisms on Mars that we have found. Furthermore, in the Andromeda strain, I don't know why they called it Andromeda. What made them think it came from there? I've always wondered about that. Anyone has any answers, I'd love to know. WB50ZL.
Well, Miss Brenda, that's a great question, and we're not going to answer it because it's after 12:05, so you're going to have to live in ignorance on that one. But we appreciate your comments and your introspective analysis. But in the end, we don't care. This is KE5ICX. I'm trying to figure out what our next movie is. Please stand by. I found it. Now, I got two things to tell you, everybody, and that is that next week's movie is Jason and the Argonauts from 1963. We get something that's halfway decent, sort of, kind of, not really, and that is our movie. Now, coming up on between in between Christmas and New Year's. I think it's a Saturday, it might be a Sunday. Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. We're going on a field trip. That would be December 28th. December 28th. We'll probably go to the theater over there at Webb Chapel and 35 or 635 and 35 to see this film. Probably a matinee. You can save $1 or something and see the movie. So, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker between Christmas and New Year's, that's December 28th. And then next week is the movie Jason and the Argonauts from 1963 with a Bernard Herrmann score. It's great. We actually get to see something that's reasonably entertaining. Does anyone have any questions, final comments, or would like to confess to the crime? Please come now with your call sign. Hearing none, I am going to go ahead and close down this fine net from this fine movie and saying good night, everyone. Thanks for checking in. We'll catch you next week. This is KE5ICS. I am clear and saying bye-bye.